we go. All right. All right. Welcome to Ball and Chain Podcast. This is episode 195. I'm Mox Born Again. I have with me, as always, it's my angel.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
That's good. Just trying to get the stream up and running. Still no video. We still waiting on the computer to be finished, so you don't get to look at our darling faces today. No, not so much.
Yeah.
No. Okay. So we're going to be changing the show around a little bit. In the past, we've done kind of like sections and like segments and stuff like that. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to kind of streamline the whole thing a little bit. And it's not going to be a lot quicker, but it's just going to be like we're going to talk about 3 things each week. 3 things that are important to us that we find interesting, or and this could be anything from a review of a game, review of a movie. We could talk about like what TV shows we're watching. Usually is what we talk about. But we'll find 3 things from the week before or whatever, or 3 things that interest us that we're going to be talking about. 99% of the time in the entertainment genre. Amanda said she wanted to talk about being pregnant.
Which I don't think we've even discussed on here at all. So, yeah, there's that.
Oh, Amanda's pregnant. So we are having our second child.
That's one topic.
Oh God. No, so we should have the video back up. With the new computer, I want to get some new graphics and stuff like that, and overlays and all that good stuff. So we'll spice it up a little bit, but we will be switching to this type of format, just for a change, Anyway, so this week we are going to talk. What are we going to talk about?
Game of Thrones finale.
Yeah, well, the last 2 episodes, actually.
Right.
What else are we talking about?
I don't recall.
Don't remember. Well, I want to talk about Overwatch. Brent did it a few weeks ago. Didn't get a chance to talk about because it was basically like our super TV show season or whatever, where everything we watch is on, and that's pretty much what took up the entire show. So I want to talk about Overwatch for a little bit. And then, did you want to talk about our concert last night?
Oh, that's right.
So, okay. So what do you want to talk about first?
It's up to you.
Let's go Game of Thrones first.
Okay.
So Game of Thrones finished up.
Yeah, and they've announced there's only
14 more episodes.
13
13?
episodes.
What? That was 7 and 7.
I think it's 7 and 6, or yeah, I don't know.
That's
anyway.
Terrifying.
Yeah, it's very sad. Considering the season at 10 episodes is short enough.
Right.
But you could definitely tell this season, ramped it up. They really sped along. Up until this point, they were following along the books, obviously deviating from them somewhat, but they reached a point where they had pretty much surpassed the books. And you can kind of tell because the writing of the episodes and what was happening really kind of sped up all of a sudden.
Right.
They're like, all right, you know what? We don't have to follow his really slow pace. We're just gonna.
We don't have time to dick around anymore.
Right. Let's just get this show on the road.
Literally.
Right.
Or on the boat. Let's get this show on the boat, because Daenerys is sailing across the narrow sea with her dragons and a bunch of people that want to murder a lot of people. I wonder how they're going to keep the Targaryens in check. Or not Targaryen, keep the Dothraki. Because they're very, wild, almost like the wildlings, kind of.
They are. But I think they've after what Daenerys has shown them, they're pretty much going to follow her. I think they pretty much realize she's got control of these dragons. She burnt down our fort of, our temple with all of our head guys in it and lived through it. We probably should just do what she says.
That seems to be a common thing. Burning down buildings with a lot of famous and important people in them.
Oh, right.
The Queen decided to do that.
She did.
Yeah.
She took out all her enemies. Well,
majority of them.
In one foul swoop. The beginning of the finale was an amazing episode.
Yeah, what did you think about the music in the background between the scenes and stuff like that?
Right. I think the way that they directed that opening was very. I don't know how to put it. It was different from any other episode that I've seen them do. The way that they composed it really helped build up the moment. The parallels between Cersei getting dressed in that almost armor-like outfit, and her son getting dressed in his kingly, his uniform,
his cloak and stuff,
were very, very interesting how they kind of paralleled that. Very little talking. I mean, besides Marjorie and some of the things that were going on in the sept with the trial. But other than that, I mean, you just kind of wordlessly see the explosion. There's
you saw the
Maester
brother
Pycelle get
in that whole scene
stabbed by the little children, which I'm
trying to figure out why they offed him. Like, he was pretty much.
He was pretty much with Cersei, I think, and stood by her for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he also represented the old regime, like he'd been there for a long time, and I think Cersei and that's what the one guy said. He said out with the old and in with the new, basically.
Right.
And this other guy, I think, is a maester too. He's the one who kind of resurrected the mountain,
Right.
and created this
Sir
guy
Strong.
that's him now, right? Created him, and
we also saw during the intro or the beginning, like, music or whatever you want to call it, what's his name getting branded. I can't remember his name.
Sir Loras.
Yeah, Sir Loras.
He gave in to the High Sparrow.
Yep. So basically, then he gave in. He atoned for his sins or whatever you want to call it, and then, which was kind of weird, and I don't know if he did it because he didn't want to die, because they figured like they would put him to death. But then he pledged, allegiance to the High Sparrow and the Seven Gods or whatever, and wanted to become like one of them. So, and I think that caught the High Sparrow off guard a little bit.
Maybe. Well, and Marjorie even came out and said, you've heard him, you've marked him. That wasn't part of our deal.
Right.
So she had some kind of a deal worked out with the High Sparrow. Obviously, it didn't go the way she planned, for more reasons than one. But yeah, the guard. What did you think about the guards not allowing them out of the sept? When Marjorie realized that something was going on, that Tommen and Cersei were both not at the trial, and she tried to leave, the guards blocked the door and did not let anyone escape.
I don't know.
Were they working for Cersei or were they working for the High Sparrow?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, that's hard. I mean, well, no, wasn't it? Was it the guards or was it the? Because it was one of his little.
The sparrows. I thought they were guards. I thought they were guards that were blocking the doors.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Let me try and look that up while you're.
At any rate, so that was very sad. We lost a lot of people there.
Oh God, yeah.
The High Sparrow, Marjorie and Loras. Maester Pycelle was killed by the creepy little Children of the Corn kind of thing going on there. Brother Lancel Lannister, Cersei's cousin that she kind of had an incestuous relationship with as well.
Mm-hmm.
He was killed. He was the one who was kind of brought down to the dragon, the wildfire, and saw it, and you could see he got stabbed by the kid and then tried to blow it out. Obviously that did not work. One thing I have to say is at least it was a quick and hopefully painless death. I mean,
I'm sure
they were just incinerated like that. I mean, just gone. At least the ones that were in the sept. The explosion, it's hard to tell. You can tell that it went a good ways around outside that building as well, and you could see the bell toppling, and crushing people in the street. So it really had a larger impact. And then you see Tommen. Obviously, Cersei wasn't with him when any of this happened. She was in her room and he was in his.
Mm-hmm.
He watched it all go down. He knew who was in there. He knew Marjorie was there. And so
I think it was the sparrows that wouldn't let him out.
Okay. But he was young. He was impressionable. He thought or maybe he did love Marjorie. He thought he loved her. He thought he knew her. I don't think he really knew her, but and I'd have to assume he knew his mother was the one behind it, and just couldn't live any longer, and threw himself out the window.
And what I find,
really fell out the window. It was a very interesting way.
He didn't really. He kind of like swan dived. He wasn't really looking. He wasn't jumping. He just kind of like, whoa!
Like that, I just give up.
Right. And what I find interesting is right after the explosion, and like you just realize that all these people just died horribly. If you look down for even like 20 seconds, less than 20 seconds, you missed the king killing himself. Because it was like everything exploded, and then it shows the king like by the window. He's like, "Oh shit!"
Takes his crown off.
Takes his crown off, sets it down, walks away.
You see the window for a minute.
Right.
It shows the window, and you're like, "Okay, something's gonna happen." Here.
Right, and he just whoop, and you're like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
So my question is, what I want to talk about is, we know the queen loves her kids. Like, will do anything for her kids, her incestual kids. But do you think she was hoping that Tommen would commit suicide?
I don't know that she was hoping for it. I think she assumed it. I mean, if you look at the outfit she was in, she was an all-black mourning outfit, basically,
right.
to begin with. You even see her talking to Jaime after he comes back with Marcella, who's deceased. You see her talking and talking to him about the prophecy that the witch had told her, that she would have 3 children, all of them would die.
Mm-hmm.
She would be surpassed by a queen younger and more beautiful than she was, which I think she assumed was Marjorie. Now, that could very well be Daenerys.
Right. Because if things happen in the way that they say, then it would be Daenerys.
Possibly, right. So, I think I think at that point she had maybe given up on Tommen.
Mm-hmm.
I think she distanced herself from him. I mean, I think he distanced himself from her too. I think he knew that she had done some bad things. Was part of the reason why Marjorie was in the predicament that she was in, being held captive and everything.
Right.
Because you saw Cersei say, he didn't visit her while she was there. They kind of separated a little bit. And I think Cersei had just accepted his fate, that he was just going to die, and so there was nothing she could do to protect him or stop that from happening. And if that was going to happen, then she would find a way to become queen. You know what I mean? I think she went into it knowing that he was, because she, like you said, she pretty much got dressed, ready to take on this role. It's not like, she got dressed and was like, oh, King's dead. Well, I guess I should probably change. And then, and like, she didn't even shed a tear when they unveiled his body or whatever. So I think she was just like, you know what? I think it's time. This is what's gonna go down.
Right, and she kind of knew like she wasn't gonna get the same type of treatment that she got with her other son, Joffrey. Even though Joffrey was a little bit defiant to her as well.
Very much so.
Because if you go back to the first season when they were getting ready to behead Ned, I can't say her name, Cersei, he said, why don't you spare this man and send him to Castle Black or whatever, or something like that. And Joffrey defied her there. So you can tell that she doesn't have quite the grip on her kids as she would like, and I think this was a perfect example of, well, I guess
she just given up.
Yeah, I'm done. You know what? It's better when I'm in charge, or when my husband is the king and I can
But you also kind of wonder, what is she gonna do? Obviously, she's capable of pretty horrible things. The reason, and that's the thing, you see at the very end, and we're kind of jumping around the episode, but we're kind of sticking with
it's fine.
Parallel lines here. They're not parallel lines, but storylines. At the very end, you see Cersei get crowned queen, and at that time, that's when Jaime is coming back, and he as he rides into the city, sees the destruction, sees the sept blown to
much
pieces.
leveled, yeah.
Obviously, I would assume that it was I would think it would be his assumption that she was there. That's where she was supposed to be. Or maybe he assumed that, oh crap, what did she do now? I don't know. But he rides in as she's getting crowned and seated in the Iron Throne. She's looking pretty badass, by the way.
Yeah, and everybody definitely is, oh shit.
And there's kind of an expression on his face, and I'm not certain if it's like, because he has had this crazy like love for her, and he says there's a speech I think maybe last season where he said, maybe it was this season, I would do anything for her. It was when he was talking to, it was actually this season.
This is 2 or 3 episodes ago.
Right, when he was talking in the siege outside of right.
Frey. Yeah.
Right. Anyway.
Blackfish.
Right. So he obviously loves her, but at the same time, you have to wonder what kind of conflict is going through his head.
I think he's depressed.
The entire reason that not the entire reason, but one reason that he became the Kingslayer initially, right, and stabbed the Mad King. The Mad King was mad. His idea, he was the one that put all these barrels of wildfire under the city. He wanted to blow his city to pieces.
Right.
Because he was upset with the the people who had been there. And
he didn't trust anybody. He thought everybody was against him.
Right. So he was going to burn the city down. And Cersei and Jaime put a stop to that by killing him. And Cersei just did exactly what the Mad King did. She's now like the Mad Queen.
Well, to be fair, she wasn't the queen when she became mad. She's like the person that was mad. Right. The mad person that became king.
But so you have to kind of wonder if he realizes that. Like if he's, I would think he would hope he would realize this.
I think
is it going to be that he's going to be blinded to it because of his love for her and whatever?
Well, and it's interesting because we talked about this last episode with him and Brienne in the tent talking about, let me go. Brienne wanted to go in and talk to Blackfish and try to, let me go in there and try to negotiate. And there was like this little, and you sensed it too. You said there was, not quite a love interest, but more of like a,
trust and
like
honor.
A trust and honor. I think that is like the big thing that he's struggling with, and it really came out when he was talking with the one guy at the dinner table.
Walder Frey.
Walder Frey, and he was talking. They were talking about how good people die, and look who's good in battle, and who does who's better at swinging swords, blah blah blah. And he's like, doesn't matter, we're still here. So kind of like comparing each other. He was comparing himself to Jaime, and Jaime is just like, every time you lose this castle, we come back and get it for you. Why do we need you? And just go. So like you could tell he's upset and like he's just been.
I think he's having a crisis. I think he's having a crisis of conscience with himself.
Mm-hmm.
I think he like Brienne pointed out, he's a knight. He has the potential to be this honorable, good person, but yet his family keeps pulling him down. His Cersei and his love for him, and his dad's how his dad behaved, and I think because he even loved and helped Tyrion escape from the cell because he knew he wasn't responsible for Joffrey's death, even though his the queen. So I think he definitely has this pull, and it's his conscience. I think he's really a good person on the end. Like he wants to be a good person, but his family and just keeps pulling him down into these, and it's kind of tearing him apart, I think.
Yeah. So let's talk about Tyrion while we're at it. So
Tyrion and Dany and all them.
Yeah. So Dany left her love interest behind at the Meereen at the request of Tyrion, and then she named him her hand of the queen. So she
which is really a nice scene between the two of them.
Oh yeah, and like the and I can't remember. I know it was Tyrion that said. I don't know what episode or what season it was, but I think it was when he was named Hand of the King for Joffrey, and he was like, Hand of the King always dies. Like, look at Ned. Like he is in the worst position. They're always in the first person to die, or always in the worst position, worst predicament. The king does something wrong, and the hand of the king has to, catch all the shit for it. But I think he actually does believe in her. And that's one thing that he, kind of professed. He's like, I don't have a sword, but I can give you my counsel or whatever. And that's just like, that's what I want. And
right.
So.
Yeah, I thought that was a great scene between the two of them. We've left off with all the Marine group headed with the Ironborn.
Well, all of them but the seven or
Darien
the three sons or whatever they're called.
Right. But you've got them all heading out to Westeros now.
Mm-hmm.
On their fleet of ships provided by the Ironborn.
Got the new sigil, which is awesome. The dragon sigil looks pretty sweet.
Right.
The dragons flying overhead.
Varys, I don't know how he traveled as fast as he does.
Right,
but
he was there quick.
He was on the boats heading with them. He did take a brief detour to what are they? The Sand Snake place.
Dorne.
He went to Dorne, where we've recently seen a coup. The women have kind of come and killed the brothers, and they are plotting now with the grandmother of Sir Loras and Marjorie, who is obviously she has no future. Her house is pretty much wiped out. Those were her only grandchildren, as far as I know.
I think so.
And the heir is to Highgarden. And she's pretty pissed about it.
Well, the transition I felt was kind of lackluster. Like the transition from this, and I think it was right after Tommen jumped out, and it cut to the Queen, and then I think it went right to Dorne.
Maybe
there might have been a scene where with Dany and all that, but when we went to Dorne with the Tyrell grandmother, I was like, well, does she know? Does she not know? And then she's dressed in black. She knows. And then she's like, all my grandkids are dead. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
We have a common enemy. Blah 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 blah.
So Varys had apparently gone to Dorne to elicit the help of that group there, who have also now teamed up with Tyrell. So you got a pretty good group of people here. You got Daenerys with her dragons. You've got the Dothraki that she has brought in.
Yep.
You've got the Ironborn, which isn't a huge group, but they took up quite a few number of ships with them.
Right. You got the Unsullied.
The Unsullied.
Those guys are going to be helpful once they get ashore. I don't think they're going to be much help once they're in the boats, on the sea. Once they get past the wall, because the battle that was when Tyrion was the Hand of the King. It took place on the actual beach or whatever. They're gonna struggle with getting into the actual castle.
Well, I don't know if anyone from Dorne or Highgarden, what they supplied to the cause, but they're also on her side, fighting for Daenerys.
Yeah, they're kind of like assassins. So maybe they don't do a traditional let's take all of our ships and just ram the coast or whatever. Maybe they.
But she's got a pretty good group amassed. She left Daario Naharis there in Meereen to keep the peace because she wants to build basically. She's like, I'm going to need allies all over the world, basically. So she's really got herself a pretty good armada here going on.
Right.
The North.
Yeah, let's go north.
Yep.
So we talked a little bit about Jaime and Walter Frey, but what happens at the end of that dinner is interesting.
Oh, I wasn't going there yet.
Oh,
but okay.
So Arya shows up and basically feeds Walter Frey his sons, I guess, his only living heirs or whatever, in a cake of some sort. I don't know what it was.
I don't know.
So, but it's an interesting. If you get a chance, check it out on YouTube or whatnot, or on HBO Go or whatever. But basically, he's calling for his sons, and she's like, they're here, And he goes, "Where are they?" And she points to his plate of food, and he like picks up like the
A layer
of it, and there's like a thumb sticking out.
Yeah. So then she slits his throat.
Well, she pulls off her mask. She's wearing one of the.
She's learned some tricks from the
Many-faced
God.
Yeah, many-faced God. So she pulls off the mask of the person she's wearing. She obviously killed somebody, and she's like, "I'm Arya Stark, and I wanted you to know that as you
die, you'll see the smiling face of a Stark staring down at you."
Right.
Basically.
Yeah. There you go.
Something along those lines.
So even
but
further
yeah, it's a little
north.
scary. I mean, if you like Arya, what kind of dark place is she going to?
I don't know if it's dark. I think she just wanted revenge.
Revenge is kind of dark, but anyway.
No, I don't think she's not gonna go on a killing spree murdering everybody. Like she didn't murder everybody. Like that was it. Like I think going dark would have been dropping wildfire on the dining room table and burning everybody alive. That would have been dark.
Interesting. So back in Winterfell, we have.
Oh, let's talk about the battle. We didn't talk about the battle from 2 episodes ago.
Battle of the Bastards.
Oh my God.
Listen, this
Okay,
we're gonna go in for like 3 hours just on Game of Thrones alone.
I know.
Anyway, Jon and Sansa have Winterfell back.
Yep. Excellent battle.
Yes, Ramsay is dog chow. So we see Sansa and Jon have a little bit of a strained relationship here. Clearly, there's some confusion as to who should be taking over Winterfell. Jon is technically a Snow. He's not a Stark. And anyway, we're not going there quite yet. And Sansa, as far as they know, they don't know if anybody else is alive.
Yeah, they don't know Bran's still alive or Arya.
Right. Obviously, they just saw Rickon die at the Battle of the Bastards.
Yeah, Rickon, you need to duck and dodge, buddy.
Yeah. There's some kind of contention here as to who is really over Winterfell. I don't think that either of them really care who is.
Right. Just as long as there's a Stark.
Right, and that they're there and they've got control of their house and that they have some followers, basically. We see an interesting exchange between Sansa and Littlefinger out in the Godswood. Littlefinger goes to basically profess his love to her, I think.
Yeah.
And say that, don't, you're a Stark, he's not, you need to be in power here. Which is interesting looking back, season 5, there's a scene between Littlefinger and Cersei where he tells her, hey, by the way, I know that Sansa's alive and I know where she is. But, I know she's in Winterfell. Because he delivered her there. He didn't deliver that little tidbit that he let her escape.
Right.
But anyway, he basically made a pact with Cersei so that when Stannis Baratheon and Ramsay had their little spat, their little war, whoever was left, he would go in with the Knights of the Vale and kill who was left, take over Winterfell, kill Sansa Stark, and
as long as she named him King of the North, or
Warden of the North.
Warden of the North, not King of the North, right?
Right. So obviously we've always known you can't trust Littlefinger. Sansa even mentioned that she doesn't trust him to Jon.
Which, thank God. Thank God.
At least she knows that he's dangerous.
Right.
But yeah, he definitely has his own little plot going on. She rejects him.
Which I think this is a key point in the story of what's to come. He's gonna betray Sansa. I think if she would have taken him, because he basically professed, I see myself I see this picture of me sitting on the Iron Throne with you by my side, and she says it's a pretty picture, but it's all it is a picture or something like that. Right. I think if she had accepted that, he probably would have saved her some way or another.
Well, and I also don't know how he then plans to get from Winterfell here to the Iron Throne. I mean, I know he works his way up. He's gone from nothing to, know.
He's gonna have a way. Now, it would be interesting and a huge twist if him and Varys are in cahoots.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, I know they're arch enemies or whatever. In their, in the past they've had quite a bit of tough love going on, but it would be interesting if.
Well, I think, further into that segment, we see them in the Great Hall, and they're trying to figure out, who's pledging loyalty to whom here.
Right.
And the little girl stands up and tells them all off.
Right.
Little Mormont, Lady of Mormont. She's like, you know what? We had their backs this whole time. Like, you guys, you betrayed him, you betrayed him, you betrayed him.
Right. Where were you when?
Right, when he needed you most. And so she basically stands, you know what? We're still behind him. He may be a Snow, but he's a Stark, and he's king of the,
right.
King of the North. He's got Stark blood running through him. So she proclaims him King of the North. We see a scene very similar to when everyone proclaimed Robb King of the North.
It's not a very good title to have. It doesn't live very long.
Right. So
Littlefinger's in that scene too, and he looks pissed.
Yeah, he's pouting big time.
Yep.
And Sansa kind of just has this satisfied look on her face, like.
I think she's okay. I think she's okay with taking the number 2 slot and making sure that the king is the king of the North. Like, not Robb. Jon is he's the head, but she kind of makes sure that everyone's taken care of at a lower level.
Yeah, but they're gonna have to really watch out for Littlefinger at this point, because he's gonna have something to say about all this. Which then leads us to the other big revelation here, with Jon Snow.
So Uncle Benjen gets Bran and his little helper to the wall. So they are at the wall, probably somewhere near Castle Black, because it's got to be closer, because they're at the tree that they pray at, or one of the trees that they pray at, or whatever, the oak trees or whatever. So at that point in time, he leaves. He's going to continue his fight, which I can't believe he's doing that. He needs to stay.
He's already dead.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why he can't pass. He says what is dead can't pass beyond this line.
Oh.
So I'll continue my fight here.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So then Bran basically, touches the tree and takes us back in time to when
the Tower of Joy.
Tower of Joy, when Ned was meeting up with what's her name?
Lyanna, his sister.
Go ahead.
All right, so we all know basically the war, and I can't think what the war was called, but where they took over, killed the Mad King, and Robert Baratheon took the throne, occurred basically because the Mad King's son Rhaegar, apparently, at least according to them, kidnapped Ned's sister, took her, and raped her. And Ned supposedly then found her dying on her deathbed, ill, and so they went after the Mad King. So this scene shows us what actually occurred at the Tower of Joy. Ned does go in and sees his sister covered in blood. But basically the biggest fan theory was confirmed that she was there on her deathbed but had just birthed a baby. So she does show Ned the baby. It cuts to the same, it cuts to Jon Snow, and you're left to say, okay, this is right. Jon Snow.
Well, she mutters a couple words, but what you hear is you need to protect him as your own, or something like that.
That's what I'm trying to look up here.
But pretty much everything but writing it in the sky that this is Jon Snow, or this is the Jon Snow that we know. So
the one thing is that was kind of odd is what did she whisper to Ned? Is it about who his father is, or the fact that she wasn't kidnapped, that they eloped and he'd gone willingly? Because that's the other big thing was we've seen them say many times that she was kidnapped and raped, but other accounts of this guy, from his the family and from Littlefinger even said something along the lines of that, he wouldn't have done that. That's totally out of character for him.
Right.
So we're really left to wonder: did she run off with him, or was this something that he did that was horrible? Her last words though was, "If Robert finds out, he will kill him. He will. You have to protect him. Promise me, Ned." Mm-hmm. Well, Robert was on the warpath, killing all the Targaryens, and if this baby was a Targaryen, he would have killed him.
Right.
So it does make sense then for us to think that this is a Targaryen baby, which is very interesting because the book, the whole series is a song of fire and ice,
mm-hmm.
and you've got Jon Snow, who's presumably the ice aspect, and Daenerys, who's the fire. Or is it talking just about Jon Snow because he has the ice and the fire within him?
Right.
Is this all about just Jon Snow essentially?
Right.
Is he the hero to the whole story?
But
I kind of wonder what she's whispered to him.
Yeah.
There's more to.
You think? I don't even know if we'll ever find out. I don't know.
No, I think there's more to the whole story of his birth or whatever than.
The only way we could possibly find out is if Bran goes back and gets steps closer to what she said or whatever, because everyone in that room's dead.
Right.
So, okay. So it was a good season. Ended up, 2 really, really good episodes back to back. So. I want to talk about Overwatch for a little bit. Is there anything else you want to talk about Game of Thrones wise? I want to talk about Overwatch real quick. Not quite reviewing it. This is definitely a game to purchase for sure. If you haven't played it, definitely buy it. It's a first-person shooter that's kind of. The best way I can explain it is it's a multiplayer game where you're playing on a squad-based shooter where you've got you and I think it's groups of 6 or 7. Anyway, you've got a couple different classes of characters you can pick from. So there's offensive heroes, defensive heroes, tanks, and support team. And then each one of those, there are 4 or 5 characters within that group. So you've got a couple different ones. There's something there for everybody. I kind of stuck with the McCree guy, which is kind of like the Western dude with a 6-shooter. Each character has his own set of weapons, his own special abilities, and his own kind of things he struggles with. So the offensive guys are more up close and in your face, kind of let's get in there and run and gun type of thing. You've got Soldier 76, which is kind of like your traditional shooter. If you're a fan of Halo or Gears of War, he's got an automatic rifle. Reaper's in there. He's twin pistols. But some really good. Genji's got a sword, I believe, so he's more of a melee character. Defensive wise, this is where you're gonna find your snipers. Widowmaker's in there, I like playing as Widowmaker the most because she has basically an assault rifle that you can use close range and mid range, and then you can hold the trigger button down and it will transform into a sniper rifle, so you can use it long range as well. They all have special abilities, so once you get so many kills or so many assists or whatever, you build up this meter and you can activate the special abilities. So for Widowmaker, you basically, I think for 30 seconds you give a red outline of where the enemy players are for everybody on your team, which is pretty sweet. So there's tons of different characters to play as. The longevity of the game is going to be what you make of it. So if you've got a group of 3, 4, 5 friends or whatever that you play with, or you're going to get a ton of time out of this. I didn't play with any player, I didn't play at a party or whatever, and I played it for probably about a week and a half straight, and it's awesome. The maps are fun. The gameplay is non-traditional, so there's kind of there's no death match essentially. And that's kind of what makes the game interesting. There is no like head-to-head death match. It's all objective based. Go here, capture this point, and then go here and capture this point. Or there is a game mode where you have to deliver a payload from point A to point B. So you have to stand next to this cart or this car as it goes down the map, goes through the map or whatever, to get it to point A and B. Other than that, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, it's really interesting how, and this is from Blizzard. A Blizzard game can really show us like it's almost like a new type of game that we've never had on a console before. So definitely worth playing. The maps are a lot of fun. Like I said, there's a lot of inner working pathways. There's not really one set way to get from point A to point B. Does require a lot of teamwork, and Blizzard's done an excellent job of showing new players how to play the game. When you're selecting your character at the very beginning of the match, it'll actually tell you like not enough support characters, or not enough defense players or whatever, or too many tanks or whatever the case may be. So they know what the balance is, based on what characters are selected, and they display that. So if you've got like a better player, and he can say, all right, well, instead of being the sniper, I'll play the support player or the tank or whatever. The other cool thing is you can pick different characters throughout the game. So like everybody's unlocked from the start, and as the game progresses, like let's say you have what you thought was a really good team, but they've got a couple really strong tank characters. Okay, well we need to either have it, instead of having 3 offensive players, we need to have another defensive. So you can switch mid game to kind of fill that role. So definitely, it's a great game to pick up. It looks gorgeous, plays really good. The characters are diverse, and they're no two characters are exactly the same. The unlockables are awesome, so you don't get to it's not quite customizable like Halo, to the extent that like Halo has been, where you can pick your armor pieces or whatever, but you unlock these crates, or you get these crates that unlock different costumes and stuff like that, and different voices and different stances and things like that, much like Halo. So it's definitely there's a lot to unlock, and it's a pretty fun game. So I'll have a review. I'll definitely have a review up, in the next couple weeks or whatever, when I get the new computer up and running. So yeah. So Overwatch, definitely a game to purchase if you've got an extra $60 laying around and you're looking for a shooter or something to kill, a couple hours of your day. It's definitely a good game. So, all right. What's the last thing you want to talk about?
Oh, sorry. Well, I went to a concert yesterday.
What concert did we go to?
Well, it's a couple people that I hadn't even really heard of before, but I knew their
Never
songs
heard
on
of
the
any of
radio.
them.
Matt Nathanson and Philip Phillips. Actually, I won the tickets on the radio, which I've been doing a lot lately, which is really fun.
Do you remember what the question? Because it was an impossible question.
Yeah, it was like something that. What is it?
Men do this every day.
No. It was 818. This people do this 818 times per second in the summer. And I think it was eat a hot dog.
Damn, that's a lot of hot dogs.
Right. So I know the answer was eat a hot dog, and I think it was 800. I think I would say it was 818 times a second. And I was trying to think like, what the heck can like. It
During the summer, yeah.
It can't be right. So my clue was like during the summer, so it's a summertime thing. I mean, it could be perspire that many drops. But I'm trying to think of like how like clearly you can't your body can't do anything 818 times per second. I don't believe. So I figured it had to be like a collective,
right?
Kind of a basically like an average over the entire, because it was Americans, I think,
America.
or something.
We like
our hot dogs, apparently. So, that was the question. And aside from the concert, I also got to go to a pizza lunch and meet Philip Phillips. He played a little 3-song set for about, I don't know, 10, 14 of us or so that were there. Answered some questions, took a picture with us and all that. It was pretty cool.
Sploosh.
What? Anyway, so if you're not familiar, I don't watch American Idol. I didn't. Nobody really does anymore because it's done. But he did win. He was a winner. I think season 11 or 12, somewhere in there. American Idol winner. He's got quite a few popular songs on the radio. Matt Nathanson, I'd never heard his name before. He actually had I think 2 or 3 songs that I recognized last night.
I think he had a better show. I liked him in concert.
He had a much better stage presence. His personality was a lot more fun. Not that I don't like Philip Phillips. I mean, I like his music. It was definitely an interesting mix.
I mean, he put on a good show. They both put on a really good show. I just feel like Matt had like
good interaction with the audience. You felt like you could be his friend.
Right. He interacted with the audience quite a bit. I mean, even to the point where we're in like this kind of amphitheater, outside amphitheater, and during one of the songs, he got up off stage, went all the way around, walked all the way around the whole thing, and it's probably like 40, 50 rows deep or whatever.
Mm-hmm. He climbed to the top. He climbed over the gate.
Right, climbed on the top, took a selfie with somebody mid-song.
Yeah.
Like, it was, he was in between sets and songs, he was, cracking jokes on the audience and stuff like that. So I feel like it just was a better, it wasn't the standard, hey, thanks for coming out, love you guys, you're the best, and then play the song.
Right. Yeah, he definitely, which, we were talking about yesterday, a couple of years ago, we saw Sugar Ray. And Mark McGrath was kind of that way too. I mean, he would stand up, tell stories about his kids or his, whatever. And
was that the band that was he in? Was that the one that he shared a drink with somebody?
No, that was Smash Mouth. Oh. He passed around this bottle of Jack Daniels or something, I think, in the front row.
Right.
But and I don't know if it's because he's older. We looked him up. He's about 43.
Right.
As compared to. Philip Phillips is being 26, so I think he's got probably maybe a little more experience. But I liked his music. I liked his music, even the ones I hadn't heard before. He definitely had kind of, again, that Sugar Ray kind of feel to it.
Yeah. I had fun.
A lot of songs about camping.
A lot of songs about camping. He likes to have sex, apparently. I had a lot of fun. It was really good music, good shows.
Nice little venue.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was gonna be super hot, but it turned out to be actually pretty chilly. So, but yeah, it was fun.
Mhm.
So, cool. Anything else you want to talk about?
I think I'm good.
All right, guys. Well, hopefully the new computer will be done by next week. We'll see. We can get the video stream back up and running, and we'll have. We'll have our new format starting with this episode. But I want to appreciate everybody watching, hanging out with us. You can check out our archive shows on youtube.com/72DPI online. You can check us out every Wednesday at 8 p.m. right here on twitch.tv/BC Podcast. I'll be streaming tomorrow night. I actually want to stream. I think tomorrow night is when I'm going to break down and actually start playing Doom on the hardest difficulty. I don't know if I told you about this. So I finished Doom on Nightmare, right? And I was like, oh, now I'm going to play it on Ultra Nightmare, or on Ultra, because that's the next difficulty, blah, blah, blah. Well, actually, there's another difficulty underneath Ultra. It's called Ultra Nightmare, where you play each level. If you die in a level, you start over, all the way back to the beginning. There is no checkpoints in the game. So, and the other thing that they do is they put like a marker where you die, so you can see where how far you got or whatever. So I think I'm gonna stream. And not only that, it's more difficult. I think I'm gonna stream that tomorrow night. Start streaming that. On a regular basis. So if you want to check that out, we'll probably start the stream somewhere around 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock in there. But yeah, and then we've got Mana Drained is our Magic the Gathering podcast. That will be, let's see, we do that next Tuesday, the 5th. So Magic Vice and I talk about Magic, and we've got a lot of spicy new cards to talk about. I'm really excited. So tentacle monsters. That's all I can say. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week for sure. Have a great week.
Bye.